Thank you very much. Agenda item number 1, apologies for absence. Have we got anyone who has notified you of their absence? Please,
I've
Esther.
received apologies from Councillor Eggleston.
Can we just note Councillor Eberle is on a train which has been delayed?
By 5 minutes, according to National Rail.
That's the 2. Okay, thank you. Agenda item 2, minutes of previous meeting. Are there any comments relating to the minutes from the 8th of January? Great, no comments. I move the minutes to be accepted and request a seconder. Councillor Tina Mackenzie-Ball, thank you very much. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Agenda item 3, declarations of interest and anyone working under the party whip. Does anyone here wish to declare an interest or note they are working under the party whip? Councillor Hafferty.
Yeah, it's not the whip. I work closely with the leader on climate issues, including being a member of the Council Sector Climate Change Working Group, JCAB, and also being a trustee of BFCCA. As such, it wouldn't be right for me to scrutinise the leader's portfolio work regarding this. Therefore, I won't question or debate climate change activities in item 7 of the leader's update. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Councillor Tina Mackenzie-Boyle.
Can I, as an adjunct to that, I chair the Parish and Towns Climate Change Working Group. Would I come under that? No? Right, lovely. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Agenda item 4, we have 3 items of urgent items of business. I'll quickly go through those. Councillor Bailey, you wish to make a statement to the Commission. You are answering a question and you have an update for us.
Thank you, Chair. The first thing I'd like to say is to formally apologise for an inappropriate slang expression or word that I used in a previous hearing. I've been giving an update as to my activities and I carelessly used a word that I shouldn't have used. I apologise formally for that. Thank you. And as far as the updates are concerned, there were 2 questions that I was asked to respond to. I can read them out briefly, the response if you're happy with that. The service has established an improvement project with a focus on improving home-to-school transport. This work is supported through the Corporate Improvement Programme. It has a focus on ensuring that the home-to-school transport arrangements provide a safe and cost-effective travel solution for children who need it. We can provide an update on the Home to School Transport Improvement Project at the Commission meeting on April the 26th. As far as the second item is concerned, we will need to pass that to Andrew Hunter as it seems to relate to a general bus service issue. Finally, a very, very quick update. I know you have limited time. I just to bring you up to date with my activities for a couple of minutes. With one of the council officers, I've had an opportunity recently of talking to numerous children and young people with special needs and disabilities, parent carers and professionals over recent months across schools and communities in Bracknell Forest. And looking at in terms of Bracknell's special educational needs and disabilities and alternative provision strategy, it's been really truly enlightening to speak to our local children and to ask for their feedback on the education that they're being offered and how they're receiving it. I won't say any more than that other than to say that I've learnt an awful lot in this process and it's certainly worthwhile and will add enormously to our strategy which we're developing at pace now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Agenda item 5, public participation. Have we received any requests under the public participation scheme?
I'm not aware of any requests under the public participation scheme.
Thank you. So we're just going to slightly rejig the agenda in order to release the leader. So I'd like to jump to item 7, which is the leader update from Councillor Temperton on your portfolio, Mary, Council and Climate Change Strategy. So the Commission welcomes you to the Council, and Mary, the floor is yours.
First of all, manage the microphone. Thank you very much for inviting me here. I've got a series of slides which will be up on the screen, and I hope I can see them as I go through them. So first of all, we'll start with the climate change programme and the achievements to date. We developed a planned approach to decarbonisation of the council estate, and that some of the community centres have had solar panels put on them, the libraries have had heat pump put on them, and other things, and that's ongoing. We supported sustainable staff travel with EV salary sacrifice schemes and a new pool e-bike. There's 3 of them that are available for hire. Funded solar for schools feasibility studies for every state school in the borough, and we've really pushed that, and for some schools it's been quite well, they've wanted it, but their roofs have not been strong enough or able to take that over. Warfield Primary I went to look at with them, so that's disappointing. We're trying to work around that. Awarded 9 grants through the Climate Action Grant Scheme to schools to produce their own projects on this, and to local charities with a climate change project. Delivered the annual Bracknell Forest Community Climate Summits. That's the main one, which we did in Wellington College and also in the Kerrith. And the schools climate conferences, both primary and secondary, which were very well received. We supported Bracknell Forest Community Climate Action to become an independent charity. That's set up as a trust, and that is the group that's actually organising this year's summit, which is going to be in the Kerrith again on July the 8th, and we've got a sponsor for it, so it will cost the council nothing. So rolled out carbon literacy training for many of the managers across the organisation, and when they go there they've been quite enthusiastic about what the learning that they've done and how they can promote that within their departments. We procured technical support with Scope 3 emissions measurement. So Scope 3 is trying to work out how much carbon emissions are being given off when something is delivered to Bracknell Forest. When something is delivered from away, if we buy anything, how much carbon dioxide was produced when it was being made, and how much carbon dioxide is being produced when it arrives here, and how it's going to be delivered. And that's the hardest thing to measure. So that's why we've had to have some advice on that. We've also secured reduced cost retrofit of temporary accommodations, and we founded Bracknell Forest Community Cycling Group and began engaging with schools using mode shift stars, which is they get points and certificates and things for the more times they cycle, and that's been started to be uptaken by the schools. We overhauled the menu at the Woodlarts Cafe to make it more climate friendly, created a new community orchard at Shepherd's Meadow, and improved heathland habitat at Wildmoor Heath. And I'm really pleased to say that we've got 2 new species identified in Bracknell Forest in the biodiversity, which is really exciting. It's the first time ever we've had a brown hair streak butterfly there, and also harvest mice, so really good, and that's Wildmoor Heath. So we prepared for engagement across the council in addressing the risks of climate change and introducing new climate change guidance for staff alongside the integrated impact assessment tool, which helps them look at what they do and what is the impact of their lifestyle really and their behaviour on the carbon dioxide emission. The reflection and next steps: 450 people engaged across our summits and events, and 44 houses have benefited from retrofit support, including Solar Together scheme, and 27 staff have used the EV salary sacrifice scheme. So that means that they can actually get an electric vehicle from reducing from their salary. Challenges, there's limited, we said last night that we're changing the model for which the team is actually providing the money that will support them, and they have to really get contracts and get grants, and they will take administration costs from that. But there is a limited, the limited fund grants available, and they're proving very highly competitive. And there's not a lot of capacity to actually go out looking for all the different grants that are available. So that is why this has to be watched with great care to make sure that it actually will succeed. We have a feasibility study for the town centre heat network. Now, this is a really exciting programme put out by the government with a huge grant. We didn't get that grant, we failed, but they were still very interested in it. And Peter Swallow has got, is pushing for us to get that. It would be where we've got heat left over from different data centres or storage places put into that, and that is spread like through pipes underneath the ground and into all the different buildings, and then they each control their own heat supply from this network. Exploring the town centre car club for staff and resident use. Collaboration across Berkshire, such as the local area energy planning or extending solar together to include heat pumps. These opportunities and others will be included in the action plan for 26-27, which will have a focus on income generation in a different model. Whoops, just a minute.
It's a dodgy colour.
Sorry, everybody? Right, okay. Does anyone want to ask me any questions on that first? Because that's the first bit. That's climate change.
Yes, I have a question for you, actually, Mary, if I kick off. We don't appear to be winning the grants that are on offer. Do you have a theory why that is the case and how you can actively improve our win rate?
Yeah, they're certainly trying. There's huge competition for these grants because everybody's trying to get on them to the same. The heat pump one, the heat network, was a special feasibility study. So now we're asking all the local people if they will actually support us in this as well to do a feasibility study. We've written to them all and see if that is possible to do that in a different way. I think there's not as many grants come out yet. They've started to come out. They've started to come out now with retrofit, and they've started to come out with solar panels again, and they've started to be reborn. But they are trying, but it's I just think it's the competition between them.
Okay, thank you. Tina, Councillor Tina Mackenzie-Ball.
Thank you for being here, Leader. I know you're really busy. A couple of things. The initiative on the 8th of July, do you want to speak about that? Do you want to tell everybody about that?
Yeah, the initiative on the 8th of July is at the Kerris Centre. It will be in the afternoon and again repeated in the evening. And it's being run by the Bracknell Forest Community Climate Action Group. That is our offshoot, really. It's the community group that is running this. It's not the council. And the community group is asking members of the public to step forward and say, what have they done in their behaviour? What have they done in their lifestyle that has made a difference, and the energy that they're saving and the cost they're saving? And several people have come forward. Some people have put in heat pumps and they're willing to talk about that, their journey of having a heat pump. Others are coming forward to talk about solar panels. Others are coming forward to talk about their electric vehicles. Others are coming to talk about their diet and how they've changed that. And others are coming about how they've changed their reduce, recycle and reuse with the way in which they go and change all their different way in which they they don't buy much. And we've also excitingly got the people that are from the health authority that looks after Broadmoor, because Broadmoor, I found out yesterday, is 5% of our carbon dioxide, and it was built, the new was built without it really being done on the green way, and so they're having to put in retrospectively all the pumps and all the solar panels, and they're hoping to have a solar panel over the car park. They're hoping to have a huge, great solar field. So they're really it's quite exciting stuff. So they're going to be standing there saying what they're going to do and how that will save the carbon dioxide. The main speaker is the East Hampstead Park Conference Centre, who have done a fantastic amount of stuff in there to actually save all the food they use, the beers they get, and bringing it all on at one time, and also there's insulation through the buildings. And I wrote to him and asked him if he would come and be the main speaker and also subsidise it, and surprise, surprise, he said yes. So he's subsidising the whole conference, so that's pretty good for us. So he was going to be there on there. So that's the Bracknell Forest Community Climate Action Group. So it's going to be people standing up saying all that they've done, and we've also launched a youth forum, part of that, and they will stand up and say what they're doing as well, which at the moment is a cycle survey for all the schools to see why we have so few people cycling to our schools. We probably know, but it would be good to them to talk about it and to find out why.
Leader, many thanks for that. It is on my agenda for next Monday, and Russell Jewell will be talking about it. I'll ask him to stay home and ask you to come along, and you can tell our members of our working group. So that's really very, very kind of you to do that. And I think everybody should support this if we can. It's going to be it should go to your clerks. So, and they will be telling you as councillors when this is happening. So we need to put this in the diary. And the other thing too, I'm a bit perplexed, Leader, very perplexed. You're looking at transportation of products coming into Bracknell Town or Bracknell Forest?
Bracknell Forest.
Bracknell Forest.
Because that's
What
the
does
whole
that
club.
mean? What does that mean to the residents? Will they find prices higher, do you think?
Well, no, it's only what the council is doing at the moment. We're looking at the council scope 3. So it's things that we will buy as the council to supply the council.
That's
So,
lovely.
I mean, your parishes and your town council should do that for them as well. So when they have equipment provided for them, they should work out where it's come from, how much it costs to make, and what is the carbon footprint on those things as well. But this is a really difficult thing to work out, scope 3.
I'll make sure that I articulate that on Monday at the meeting. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Barnard?
Thank you. A huge amount of activities going on and has been for a number of years. Thinking ahead at the end of the next municipal year, so thinking sort of March, April next year, what would be your expectation in terms of deliverables? Because there's been a lot of sort of work going on in terms of setting up groups, forums, sharing good ideas and things. If we were sort of apply a bit of a business mind to this, what would we expect to see that's different next year after all this work has gone in terms of actual the impact on our community as a whole? Because I recognise there are lots of groups, there are lots of people doing things, and I also recognise that we're struggling to get grants, as a lot of councils are, because probably innovation is hard to chase. But it's your sense on if you were to stand up in a year's time, what would be, in real terms, different to the Bracknell Forest of 4 years ago in terms of our green thing? So,
Can I tell you then?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so we've got solar together, so we've got lots more people who've got solar panels on there, and that's ongoing. We've retrofitted some of our temporary housing, which has made it much, with loft insulation, Bella loft insulation, windows and things. We've done more on our community centres and libraries, and that is ongoing.
Yeah.
We've also had some really good grants. There's a lady in Amen Corner who was 84, and those houses around there were just built with no gas whatsoever. So she had an electric panel downstairs, an electric panel upstairs. She never used the downstairs toilet because it was too cold. So she has now had solar panels on the top, a battery. She's had heating put throughout it, and she's got And her whole life is really just changed. She was, and that was with a grant, and because she owned a property she had less than a certain amount of money, she got it all for free. So that's ongoing, and that's the sort of project that we can put in all over the place. BID, the Bracknell development, the Bracknell industrial site, have got the electric bikes at the station, and they are working with a lot of their members who are paying their levy to them to help them get reduce their energy throughout the people that are part of them. And today I've met the person from the small businesses to see if we could actually get somebody working with small businesses to show how much energy they would reduce if they actually put in LED lights within their area. We're also, what else are we doing? We've also got on Friday, tomorrow night, we launch the start of a repair cafe in Bracknell Forest. And so there is one in Crowthorne, and there's one in Camberley, and there's one in lots of other places. So we're launching that again by the Bracknell Forest Community Climate Action Group. That will be done there to try and get a repair cafe set up. And so really it's just many, many people. It's amazing. We've been around all the lexicon. Well, no, we've been around 2/3 of the lexicon shops, asking what they are doing. We've got to finish that off, asking what they are doing as well. And it's really, really impressive. So we really want to advertise that of what they're doing to actually recycle all their goods and make sure that that's going in, but also reducing their energy content as well. And so keep on, more and more people are actually coming forward to say what they're doing and how they are changing their life. So adding all this up and keeping a record of it is quite difficult, but we are trying to keep a record of that as fast as possible. That's why this story, the whole thing on the website of the Bracknell Forest Community Climate Action Group, is the stories of people, what they've done to their houses and how they're changing their lives. So at the end of the day, we will have measures, because we have targets with measures. And so at the end of next year, we should have a measure. And I will say, I hope, and this, I don't know how this will go down the road, but I hope whatever the situation is after the next council election, the Bracknell Forest Community Climate Action Group is non-political, it's outside this council, and it will continue its work, whatever happens. And I think that is a huge achievement.
I don't think there's a particularly political dimension to tackling climate change. I think there might be nuanced differences how you do it. My second question is what about the council? Now, as you know, I've been involved quite closely in the design of the operationally carbon neutral new community hub in Warfield. An area that I think we should explore is how we can as a council, through our building control function, actually develop our understanding of green technologies, because it's been quite interesting that one of the things, the growing area, is looking at putting solar panels on the side of buildings. So, you know, you get a win-win. So you can use solar panels instead of cladding, and the solar panels can be active. But not just in Bracknell Forest, but elsewhere, there is still, you know, a degree of resistance, probably born out of uncertainty, not out of a, you know, so I'm thinking that maybe something in a higher level that could have bigger features on lots of the buildings being built is investigating how we can work with our building control people to take a far more leading role in this. Because if you think about the data centres and everything that's being built in Bracknell Forest, we have huge buildings with acres and acres and acres of walls on them, you know, that could, well, notwithstanding the last couple of months, of course, which would be particularly crap, but actually, normally we get a bit of sunshine, and I'm just thinking that, you know, could we not do more to actually really put ourselves at the forefront? Because it's great when we see individual houses doing things, but just imagine if one of these data centres or a new building that's built actually had a huge area of solar panels, not just on the roof, on the side. They could be positively feeding the grid. So that's something to take away at a more, I think, strategic level. It's not a criticism, so it's not a criticism of building control. It's actually asking
just
if
to
we
be
can do it.
clear, the question you're
Well,
asking the leader was, have you considered solar panels on the side? Is that broadly?
No. I think it's actually more than that. It's actually understanding the principles behind it and how building control could become leaders in this area with our support.
Think if I can just respond for that to the Warfield Hub, it's really, really exciting. And I mean, we can use that with with everybody as a real model of this BRIAM excellence. And I think once it's up and running, and all the information and the learning that's gone on from that can't be lost, we must develop that with other things and use that as well.
Yeah. I just say on that, the Walfield Parish Council were there 10 years ago in terms of the design, and we're glad we've got there in the end.
And it will be wonderful.
So we have another question, but we recognise that it's probably the last question on this bit because we still have a little bit more to do. Is that correct?
That's all right, yeah, we've got quite a lot.
Councillor McLean.
Thank you. One of the significant contributors to carbon emissions is the destruction or dismantling of existing buildings. What's our policy on working with developers to repurpose buildings rather than demolish them and build something new?
Well, I think the policy, it's going to be really important. I mean, when we think about the plans with the library and the time, I mean, the original town plan was to get rid of the library. Well, I mean, we haven't decided that yet, but I'm certainly going to say, do we have to? I mean, demolishing things and getting rid of everything is not really good news. And I think we need to work out how we can recommission buildings. But sometimes the cost of doing it, the trouble is with Bracknell, we're full of asbestos. So the problem is trying to recommission a building that is really full of asbestos and putting people on there, and to work in that environment is not going to be feasible. So I think we have to work out how much it will cost to actually do the safety of that, or how much it will cost to pull down. I mean, the big thing will be when this Market Street car park comes down, what are they going to do with all that rubble? You and everybody celebrated when the Lexicon came, when they pushed down the whole of Bracknell. There was that mountain at the bottom of the road, at the bottom of the hill. And we realised for the first time ever, or I did, how steep Bracknell was. But that mountain was all the understructure. It became the part of the building. It was used throughout Bracknell Forest. It was used without Bracknell Town Centre. So we have to consider the people that are taking down the bridges and the car parking, what they're going to do with this stuff, because concrete is a nightmare to just get rid of it. I mean, you can't crump it up. We need to use it. But I will say that Cambrian, the joint venture group that we work with, they've got a really good sustainability record, and if you read their website, it is really, really good. So at least you have some hope that they will listen and they will do what is right. But the policy, I don't even know if we've got a policy, but it's a good point that we should have one, because we haven't got very many old buildings to resurrect in Bracknell Town, though I guess we have outside.
So you did ask one last question.
One tiny one, and it will be
It's lovely that
forward.
you're so keen on this, though,
Icky.
because I'm passionate about
Yes,
this.
it's just icky, tiny one, leader. All of that stuff, all that rubble, what are we going to do with it? Potholes.
The trouble is, so it'll be a bit, but yeah, well, there you go. We'll try.
May I just comment on behalf of our wonderful development teams, the planning teams? You know that we have biodiversity net gains that they have to achieve. But also, I know that all our planning officers are very keen to find ways to encourage developers to reuse and introduce all sorts of eco-friendly stuff into their plans. So, you know, if a plan comes to us for discussion, application discussions, that sort of conversation is most definitely had.
Thank you. Right, we're going to move on. Mary, would you like to continue?
Now we come to devolution, right? So we had an expression of interest which we passed through the council, and it was accepted, as with the other 19 different councils. They all went through this expression of interest to set up a Thames Valley Mayoral Strategic Authority. And it went to the government, to the minister, and the minister has asked us to go to a meeting to talk about it. So that is the March the 10th, I think, yeah, March the 10th, and it's in London, And the two people, well, the people going are myself, because I signed it on behalf of the Berkshire councils, and Liz Leatherman, who signed it on behalf of the Oxfordshire councils. But interestingly, the letter that came back from the minister talked about the possibility of having a foundation strategic authority rather than a mayoral strategic authority. So the foundation strategic authority is one that I stood up in the council and said we did not want this, because this would have been, that's what Buckinghamshire have already. They set it up with the past government. And we didn't really want this, because when the money comes in, it's all going to the mayoral strategic authorities, and they're getting much more money if it's that. So we've had this meeting in Oxfordshire, I think it was last Thursday or the Thursday before, of all the leaders, and we're going to this meeting to show that Thames Valley is ready to we're ready to go for a mayoral strategic authority. We are the economic powerhouse of this area, and we really are ready and wanting to be a mayoral strategic authority and not to be fobbed off with a foundation strategic authority. But I can take a question if you want. Well, I'll just finish this slide and then we go on to something else. So shall I finish this slide and then take questions on that? Okay, so the mayoral strategic authority is the one that gets the money from government, and they're the ones that will be able to spend the money on things like coordinating transport, infrastructure, especially affordable and social housing, bringing skills and green and environment, green skills and industry into the area. Existing councils continuing to deliver local services, but there's more money available to do the larger things. The proposal aims to unlock up to 18.7 billion by 2040 and 7 billion additional annual tax revenue, setting Thames Valley for faster, more inclusive growth. Now, that is a value that was found when we've looked at COVID and how we are actually not achieving what we were in the exponential curve before COVID. We've sacked off, and if it was able to be picked up, this is the sort of money that we would be expecting when the Thames Valley was working at peak. This is the sort of economic case we would be arguing for. So there's a governance model, and we're really ready, almost ready for that, pursuing a footprint spanning Berkshire with Oxfordshire, and also possibly Swindon. And the final geography is still being negotiated, but with Swindon in, we are economically more secure. And governance through informal devolution board and engagement with members. Now, all of us are ready to get started on this governance of who would be in there, who would be taking the different roles, how it would be set up, who would have the voting power. We're ready to go on this, so that's why we're really thinking that we're ready to go for mayoral strategic authority and don't want anything less. So following the EOI, discussions with the government, the current consultation on Oxfordshire local government reorganisation is still going on, and it hasn't been done yet, because there's Oxfordshire and all the districts in Oxfordshire, Shire, then there's Oxford City Council, and there's some people changing their borders as well. West Berkshire are changing their borders and certain things. So that's the vote that's being taken, and there's consultation being taken place at the moment for the Oxfordshire local government reorganisation to turn it into unitary authorities.
Just one question from me, and then I'll hand over to Councillor Barnard. So it was the foundational mayoral, is that what it was called, sorry?
Foundation Strategic Authority.
If that's the case, do we still have to engage with the process if that's the only offer?
Well, that's what we're going to find out, because if there's money, and they said it was a sort of, there's more money coming down with that now, apparently. So we need to know what is the offer. What if we did have to give up mayoral strategic authority? We wouldn't throw out everything and just say, oh, we're not going to do that. Because if there's money coming down, and there's money and everything coming down and availability with that, it might be that we would look and see what we can get out of that.
just on that one, yes, Sue.
May I, Leader, and through you, Chair, just to add to that around a foundation strategic authority, part of the functions that would and the powers that sit within that level of strategic authority includes the strategic development strategies that government is out to consult on at the moment. In terms of the geography of those strategies, they're sort of large spatial plans that at the moment government's consulting on a geography that includes Oxfordshire, Berkshire, Buckinghamshire and Swindon. They are longer term, higher level strategic planning documents that in effect the existing local plans feed into. So there would need to be a governance structure around that, and that would sit within a foundation strategic authority. If you don't have that, you have to form a different structure. So in answer to your question around do we have to follow it, there are other powers within the FSA that actually we are now sort of edging towards being required to look at quite seriously.
Yes, Gareth.
I think that's quite a disappointing response, in terms of not pursuing a mayoral strategic authority, because go back to what you said at the start, we're talking here about one of the economically most successful parts of the country, and however sceptical you might be about, the overall cost and value of this, as you said, having that strategic mayoral lead on it would actually bring significant extra money. The concern I would have is accepting anything less. Will that impact on our ability to accede to mayoral authority down the line? Because apart from the fact that they probably don't want mayoral elections in the short term, I can't understand why an area of this sort and this size and the shape that you're putting together would not qualify. So it'd be interesting to hear why they don't think we're ready for that, because if the economy of Greater Manchester and some of the other parts of the country, the sub-parts, are deemed to be fit for a mayoral authority, why aren't we? Because it would seem that we're going to have a significant outlay to achieve a new bureaucratic structure without any of the benefits. So I'm just interested how that plays, because presumably one of the options is in the short term to walk away and say, actually, we're not happy with this.
I agree.
The negotiating point, it's a difficult one, isn't it, Mary?
I think they're trying to... it's a way in which we could practice, really, and find out what we were. It's certainly not that it was a stepping stone towards a mayoral strategic authority. So it would be a stepping stone so we could have but the time was, we were given no time scale. And we don't want to be the time scale because we want to make sure. So we're going in with quite a lot of strong arguments about we're going in for a mayoral strategic authority, yeah? Full stop. We will find out if we can't have that, or if that's not on offer, what is the alternative. But with no decision will be made there. We'll go back and we'll find out what's happening. But certainly all the councils, all the leaders were there at that meeting. We were unanimous that we're going for a mayoral strategic authority. And certainly I don't want anything else, because I think we're ready to go for that, and that we will really fight for that. But if it is a stepping stone, we need to know the timescale about what this stepping stone is. If it's a practice, I think it is possibly that there's not the capacity to have all this at the moment, that it's been taken on this local government, to be honest and candid. I think there's a lot of councils having mayoral strategic authority. There's local government reorganisation. There's a lot of other things. So get practicing, get your governance sorted out, practice being a foundation strategic authority, and get all that in place, and then within the short time scale you become a mayoral strategic authority. But the big question is, what is that time scale? And we're ready for it now.
Councillor Penfold, is it?
Yeah. Mayoral authority leads the mayoral authority, an elected mayor. Who will lead the foundation authority?
Well, there won't be a mayor.
No, I know, but who will be the overall controller, if you like?
Well, it'll be the same leaders as everyone
Same
else.
as-
So
same
it
as
will
they've got
probably
now.
be like in other areas where each of the councils will send representatives to be like cabinet members around a central body, and they will be the central body on behalf of everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, let's keep moving on. Mary, do you want to do the next part?
Yes, and the next one is the new communities operating model. And this is because of the financial challenge, and we obviously need to do things differently. So we need to reframe our role, really, and we're going to try for this communities operating model. Now, the operating model, communities operating model, is empowering communities. And I was really impressed when I did the community strategy consultation, how people were really wanting in their community to become part of their community, to know what was going on, and to have a bigger voice in what was happening in their communities. So it's building on this. It will make evidence-based decisions. It will take people with us, and it will be talking with people rather than doing things to them. Now, obviously, this is a huge learning curve for us all, and it will take a while to set up and to get our minds all around this, including the minds of going out into the communities and getting them involved. So it's not an instant win, but it is a strategy which could well make it more, our communities would be stronger, and they'd be more involved in the decisions that were being taken on their behalf.
An operating, sorry, have you done that bit?
Yeah.
An operating model normally will have a series of processes, people, process, technology that sits underneath that in order to make it happen. Where are we in terms of the functional aspects of what are a set of very good design principles that would underpin how this would function in reality? I.e., how many people doing what, with what processes and what systems?
They're being worked on.
Do you have a view roughly when we would see when when we would get maturity around the actual...
I just had a ping up from Abby to say they're still being developed. That was the ping there. So, but I got there first, Abby, because I know they'll be... But Sue can help us on the time scale. It's an investment that we've got to make.
So this is, you're absolutely right. When you are changing an organisation's operating model, it takes time. We're very much at the early stages, but it is very much dovetailing into the community strategy that will be coming through the decision-making process in April and May for this authority. And it dovetails into that and dovetails into the 3-year funding settlement that we have. So we have a very clear view as to what our funding envelope will be, and we have those design principles. We are now in the phase of developing those milestones to understand how we're going to be implementing it, and that detail, as you've said, one of the key principles from the get-go, for example, will be when we are delivering any kind of change or investor save or savings through the business change programme, as an example, we will be using those design principles. What will good look like? And when will it be finished? The operating model will always evolve. So I would suggest you're looking at least a 12 to 24 month period in terms of developing the infrastructure below it, and then seeing it actually work and happen. And then the evaluation piece will start after that 24-month period.
Thank you. Gareth?
Thank you, Chair. So my question really is, how are we going to communicate this to our residents? Because this is a huge change in our expectation for our residents and how they work and engage with us on this. Because it will mean, you know, people taking individually greater ownership of things and not getting what they've historically expected to get. So how are we going to actually work that through? Because this is going to land, you know, if you say the next 12, 24 months, but we need people to be aware of the change so they can help direct it. So I think it's really understanding that messaging, because if, you know, notwithstanding anything last night, listening to the budget, it was, this is fine, you know, we're going to manage, it's all going to happen, and things. How are we going to actually say that this really is a hard driver?
I think we've got to base our stuff on what's going to be presented, and like Councillor Forster said, underneath this strategy of how we're going to do it step by step. But I envisage, I've been a community councillor all my life. So I think that we should be getting out there with our communities, and we'll have meetings with our communities. We'll invite people to come along, and we'll start talking about what is going to happen when we've got something very concrete about what you can't just say, we want you to take part, because half of them won't turn up, would they? You want to know that they want to, they want to belong, and they want to have a positive statement. So they're going to get something out of this. It's going to be empowerment. And so you need to have a real idea of what part of the community we could start with and then taking part in and improving, and then build on that. It's Sue's reminded me here, she's written down, it's evolution, not revolution. And I find that, no, it's definitely evolution. So it will evolve, because but we need to make sure how we evolve and what in the stages we're going to evolve, because otherwise it will go pear-shaped, and we need to make sure we're going to succeed at this. And the only way is to have the strategies in place, to be convinced that this is the way of doing it, and to know what we're expecting of people and how they can contribute. And then if it's in a positive way, I think it will be well received.
Sue, you had a point?
Yeah, just on that assumption that it is very different to what we already do. A lot of what the operating model is and the design principles is actually building on the strengths of what is already in place across Bracknell Forest. So this isn't a radical U-turn of how the authority is delivering services, rather it is building on those existing core strengths that the community recognises.
Councillor McLean.
Thank you. There are certain parallels between this slide and the previous one, because fundamentally we can have the most principled, superb, well-designed plans, but if there's no money, it's almost going to be impossible for anything to be delivered through this strategy or any other. You know, we're having potentially second thoughts about a mayoral authority, combined authority, because the money may not follow. If we're expecting our residents to embrace this community's operating model, surely money has to flow down to the level at which they're operating in order for them to deliver things that they wish to deliver. Now, I expect you're going to tell me that it's far too early to say how that's going to work in practice, and I accept that. But is there an agreement in principle that if you're going to deliver a new community's operating model, that actually money will have to flow in order to make it viable?
And money has been invested in this, already. So there is money in order to set this up and to think about how this is going to work. And I mean, if we're wanting parish councils and others to do it, they won't be just told to provide it, that they'll be led into sort of thing, the libraries and other things, or whatever's in your community. That would be an investment to help the community take over those sort of assets and what it goes into that. If there needs to be training, then we can, we'll use the best of its resources that we've got, but we'll also develop and support them, so that it won't just be you're on your own.
Perhaps I didn't express myself clearly enough. So you're not saying that simply this is a case of telling the communities to get on with operating a library, for example, and they're going to pay for it themselves because we're not going to?
That's not how it will be done, but it will be less costly than it would be with people running it and being able to be there. And for instance, the library to me is the hub of every local community. So therefore you could have far more things in there taking part, with the community taking part and joining those things. And things that we do elsewhere could be in that community locally and improving those things. So it could be volunteers helping, but it isn't necessarily that they're on its own. You've got to maintain everything on your own. You've got to raise money for this. You've got to do it all on your own. No.
Just to probably bring this one together on this one, how do your early thoughts are recognising that the operating model is still to be developed? as such. What's your early thoughts on the risk that transitioning to this type of model reduces the quality and capacity of the services that are delivered to our residents?
Well, I think that's a careful thing that we'll have to measure, won't we? I mean, it's going to be measurable. We're going to have to watch it. We know the quality of some of the services now. We're going to have to make sure that when people want... In some ways, I actually feel that there'll be some improvements. For instance, if there was some financial support and information could be given out to some of the residents. I know on Great Hollands, they will go into a library or they will go in there at 10 o'clock or into a community centre at 10 o'clock on a Thursday morning and meet someone to talk about a housing issue or whatever into the community. And they would actually maybe start raising these issues before they would know where to go because it's a local thing. Now, we need to train people up in order to do that, and but the services, we'd have to make sure that the information they get and the service they get is as good as they're getting now. Otherwise, you're going to have a disaster because they're going to be given false information.
Thank you. Shall we move on to the
Well,
next
the corporate performance is the overview, the quarterly review, and we're in Q3 now, up to Christmas. So the context, Bracknell Forest is in the 10% least deprived areas in England. I don't know whether we celebrate that or not, actually, because that's why we got such a poor fair funding review settlement. And the fourth best, but we can celebrate, it's the fourth best performing local authority area in the Better Lives Index. We're making excellent progress against all the 4 council plan priorities. 16% of actions completed, 96% on track, and no concerns of 84% of indicators on track or close, sorry. The risks, and there are risks, of course, is the operating environment remains challenging and strategic risks are being managed. There's a potential overspend at 1.269 million at January 26, including emerging issues. And this means there's going to have to be close monitoring of the budget and spend by the CMT weekly to make sure that we get that down before the end of the year. The pressures are the same as they always are, which is demand for children and adult social care, and some placement and workforce pressures. On the next slide, we have under the heading Engage and Healthy Communities, several new specialist provision and childcare settings opened, increasing placement of growing demand. Over 3,700 children were accessed early provision. Stronger Together Partnership Community Strategy was drafted, over 3,000 residents involved. 10-year physical activity, sports and leisure strategy and implementation plan was approved. The Bracknell Forest Vision 2025 was approved by Cabinet. There's a new employability skills programme launched and youth skills hub funding secured, and that is at the Open Learning Centre and is really good for our young people to go and to be helped. Local Transport Plan 4 2537 approved following public consultation. The Council Climate Change Strategy was formally adopted. The Climate Emergency Score UK published, improved and above the benchmark. The Community Climate Action Group summits were held and climate change conferences were held in schools. And I would like to say right now that they will go on this year as well, but this will be very different. The Secondary School Summit is going to be a partnership between us and Wokingham and Bracknell College. And Wokingham and Bracknell College are superb for apprenticeships and skills in the green economy. And we're going to have hands-on and talking by their own students about what is going on there. And so when our young people come along, there'll be a lot about careers in the green green energy and green skills as well. So, and that will cost us nothing, and it's already been worked out with me and the organisers from the Bracknell and Wokingham College. For the primary school one, I'm still looking for the location, but I think it's secure, but I haven't just had the email. But that's going to be working with me and the teachers of all the different schools, where I'm asking them to come forward and say what their schools have achieved as far as their climate change changes in behaviour in their schools and what they're achieving, and this will be raised based by the children, will be explaining and sharing their own expertise on this and sharing all that they've achieved. The asset management plan formally adopted to manage properties in line with priorities, and the community infrastructure levy payments on track to meet 3.16 million annual forecast, and completed a 5.3 million carriageway resurfacing programme, and the strategic transport model data collection project and streetlight upgrades. And then, a minute, what have I got here? Oh yeah, leaving that at the moment though, there's lots of other things that we could talk about that are really, really good, like apprenticeships are up beyond the target. We've got over 7.5k volunteer hours recorded so far for the parks and countryside. We've beaten lots of targets in this quarter, and I think if you go through all of it, it's really quite encouraging that it's coming from our communities and taking part in things. We've got cycling has gone up with bikeability. Over 1,000 children have been trained in bikeability, which is really good for their safety, but it's also good for the environment if we can keep them going active transport to school. I said about the 2 species which were now identified, which is really good. We have, of course, we started on the new social, emotional and mental health school in Warfield. This is a 50-school place for 11 to 16-year-olds with special educational needs and disabilities. And we had many activities during Christmas, including the White Ribbon Day, where we raised awareness of violence towards women and girls. We had a civic military employment day, really, at the Santos Royal Military Academy, to try and show what work can be done to encourage employment with veterans and everybody to do with the armed forces. So there's been a lot of work going on, and the challenges are more or less the same as, again, they're always adult and social care for children, and social care, for pressures for adults and for children. And sadly, we also have a pressure for recycling, because recycling contamination in the blue bin has gone from 14% to 17%. So we need to re-educate everybody yet again. And I will remind them, it's going out on the council tax envelope when they get the council tax bill, that we are wasting £1 billion a year in Bracknell Forest on not recycling properly. So that can help if we can, and we will include much more information on the website about what goes in which bin. We are still, we're also concerned still, of course, because we've got no news about the Butlers Park School. So that is, again, that's what we desperately need. But, and the demand for SEND places continues to grow.
Just to bring this section to the end, is there anything that you specifically want to bring out for the peer challenge before I go into questions?
No, I just think we're a superb council, so let's just make sure that that's the verdict that comes out, because that's, I think we have so much to offer. I mean, everyone here, whatever your political, we all work our socks off for the people of Bracknell Forest to make sure that we're providing the best services possible, whatever our political affiliation. And I just think and this will be a peer review to show that this is what is happening. You know, we are working so hard under challenging circumstances in many cases, but we're out there. The residents know us much more. And they're taking part in things much more. And I think we have a lot to offer, and I think we've got a lot to shout about.
Thank you. 2 questions I've got. Yeah, Gareth.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to sort of pick up on the reference you made to the special needs school at Bucklers Park. I thought the submission that I saw yesterday, and thanks to Councillor Bailey and everyone, and Ronnie for copying me in on that. Given what I think we've been able to read in the white paper that's come out, does this give us hope or concern about the willingness of the government to fund the SEN school? Because it seems to me that there's an almost implicit bias against special education in favour of mainstream resource units. And where does that stand? Because, you know, I think you've been talking about good examples elsewhere, Mary, but we have fantastic examples of where our mainstream secondary schools go above and beyond. And we're talking about a cohort of children which, however you measure it and manage it, could never be properly supported, educated and looked after in a mainstream setting. So that's my real concern where we are at the moment, ideological, not practical.
Okay, I was on a webinar with the minister, what's that called, Secretary of State, to Labour leaders. And if the child needs a specialist school, then the child will get a specialist school. That is what she said. And so there are many children, God, I've been teaching for 32 years, there are many children that cannot cope in a mainstream school. There are many, many that are not in mainstream school that I think can cope in a mainstream school with extra supervision, with extra training to the staff, with extra awareness of their needs and the flexibility which is being promised. But there are some children who cannot. And if they're in that school and they have a meltdown and the child is really upset and really done, that affects all the other children, but it also affects the parents of the children that are sending their children, the parents of that. And they will then start saying, we don't want to send our children here or whatever. We don't want to get into that state. It's not necessary. If a child cannot, if there's reasons that a child needs a specialist school, we must fight for that specialist school. And we need the specialist school for autism in Butlers Park, which is why, following Councillor McLean's recommendation, we put a letter in there to say that I would like to go and meet the Secretary of State and to fight for this and to say why this we don't want any more special units to go there. That would be useful and we can fill those up. But what we really need is we have evidence that we need a specialist school.
So is the answer to that question that the white paper actually facilitates the delivery of, you know, these much needed special schools? And so when we have ministerial engagement, we will be able to point to the white paper and say, we've got our sponsor in place, you know, we've got our provider in place, hit the button now. Because, you know, we meet every other article of that white paper in terms of our special resource units. So I get all this. I've been a governor for 29 years. I've done a lot of SEN stuff as well. But my comment is, does the white paper give us hope that this school will be delivered?
I think it does.
Good.
Just a few questions. Councillor Tina Mackenzie-Boyle, then Councillor Jodie Watts.
Thank you very much, Chair, and through you, Leader. I'd like to bring this little nugget up at the Parishes and Towns Climate Change Working Group on Monday. There is contamination in the blue bins, which has gone up from 14% to 17%, and it's costing us £1 million a year.
It's not just this one, it's been going on for a while. So this was the blue bin has got more contaminated. But if you look at the green bin, now if you take the average collection of a green bin, 23% of only 23% of all that content of a green bin should have been there. Only 23% should be heading off to a landfill. So the other, whatever that is, 23, come on, it's late. Anyway, the other 67, whatever, that should go in the blue recycling bin. or it should go to the clothes banks, or it should go to the bottle banks, or it should be in the food bank. So people, we're somehow not recycling as accurately as we can. So we've got to help people recycle more accurately.
Thank you.
How can we do that then, Nina?
Well, it'll be education, it'll be notices, and it'll be constantly saying what can. They'll be on the website, it'll be much more clear of what can be done and what can't.
Sure, I understand that, but what I'm going to do is talk to the members, of which I think there's about 25 of us. We need our members to pass that along and go to our clerks, who are an extremely good bunch of people who make other people work. So I'm really going to push this on Monday.
I think the term £1 million wasted money that we desperately need in this borough, and we could actually, will be the bit that might make people do something.
So, Councillor Jodie Watts, and then Councillor Jenny Penfold.
Thank you, Chair. I would just like to applaud this council and across all parties' continued fight for a special needs school. As I don't know if I've mentioned this, mother of four special needs children. I have mentioned it a few times. I am blessed that only 3 of them need a SEND school, and I'm also equally blessed that the one child that needed a special needs school got into one. I have nothing but respect for those that can run and, attend an SRP. And, if it was up to me, every mainstream school would have an SRP, but we need a special needs school. And I won't go through the poor ass list because, I can't connect with my son's class. He can't make friends because they're in the middle of nowhere. If there's an emergency, I cannot go and collect him without the help of a driver, and there are so many reasons why it would be wonderful if the special needs school that he attends was local. But yeah, so I'm going to try and go. This is why I should write speeches. I go off on a rant. But yeah, so special needs schools are definitely needed in this area, and the only one we have is not an SEMH school. It is Kennel Lane, obviously, which is mainly aimed at physically disabled and non-verbal children, which does not work for higher functioning children. So a lot of times special needs schools kind of all get lumped together, which can be detrimental to the the report and then education. But so anything that I can do to help facilitate the fight for the special needs school, I will do it. So do we, but to go back to Councillor Barnard's question, do we have any kind of definitive answer about whether or not we will be able to get a special needs school? And when you have the meeting, will you be able to give us an update, please?
I don't have any definitive answer. That's why I'm going to talk to her to see what I could do. But we haven't even had a reply to that. But hopefully the submission has been acknowledged. Gronia's here at my right hand. The submission has been acknowledged. So now we will get if it's been acknowledged, then we hopefully get a meeting and we'll go up there and I will plead as hard as I can that we need this school. And I will say that, she said on this webinar, I've got my notes, she said on the webinar, children who need specialist schools will have specialist schools. We have children that need specialist schools.
Just moving us on. Councillor Penfold, you got the last question on this one?
It wasn't a question on this one. It was an addition to what you said about recycling. Could we reinstate the collection on the Saturday morning at the sports centre or somewhere else? People don't necessarily feel comfortable going to the tip to drop all their bags and their electrical things, whereas a lot of people used to go to those sessions. They were very helpful to local people.
But we have a very good system now called Anglo, and it's on the website.
Yes.
And you can phone them up and you tell them what you want, and within Janet Cochran is the mayor, will tell you for sure. Yeah. They're within about 2 hours, they're there collecting it all. So they will take it from the doorstep. So they will take anything that you've got, you tell them what to do, they will come
Yes.
and they will take it from your doorstep for free. And so that is set up between RE3, so it's Wokingham, Reading and ourselves. It's been set up in order to make it easier for doing that.
Just bringing
That's fine.
bringing that to
Thank you.
an end. Is that all you've got for us tonight, Mary?
Yep, well, I can go on, but that's all
No,
I've
I
got.
think that will do. Let's move into debate. So we've had lots of questions. I've made some notes as we've gone, just so I can start the debate. I had a question around improving the success rate of grants. In particular, what I would suggest is a recommendation that we explore whether professional support, consulting support, would help us to improve that hit rate. There's a cost, there may be a benefit. That was the first one. Gareth, you mentioned looking at the way that planning engages with vertical solar? Building control. So sorry, help me out on that. Let's just discuss that one.
When we debate, I'll come
Yeah, okay. The next one was how we can engage with residents. That came out during the conversation to improve both the climate change aspect and also recycling. And the final one was around the new communities operating model, and it was a question about how that will function, and then communicating the outcomes to the stakeholders that will be affected by it.
Repurposing buildings rather than demolition.
Yes, repurposing buildings. Okay. Is there anything I've missed, just as a headline, so we can bracket this? Jodie, have you got something you want to add on?
Well, I was just thinking, with the contamination of the recycling bins and with the brown bins coming up the other day in the budget, it seems to be that, and I'm not going to go on about the brown bins, but basically it isn't optional and some people don't think that they can afford it. But what we are missing out is that we do have a tip, and it has a garden section. And if you do not drive, you can bring a friend and they can help you tip it. But we also have the brown bags. They cost £1.40. You can put whatever garden garbage that you like, and you can leave it on the curb, and it doesn't cost much. And with the contamination of the recycling bins, it means that people either don't care, which I don't believe, or they just don't know which is appropriate for which bin. So perhaps we need to start a new promotional scheme, or new stickers on the bins, or something easy to digest, something to go around to make sure everyone knows what's supposed to go in what bin. Actually, up until last year, Councillor Hafferty, I actually believed that all plastic went in the blue bin, and Councillor Hafferty pointed out that certain plastics cannot go in the bin and must go to the tip. So, yes, thank you.
Let's just focus on. So the first one, we'll come back. The first one was what I mentioned around whether it was a sensible recommendation to create or engage professional support to improve our grant hit rate. And what I mean by that is to review whether it's worth doing, not to do it necessarily. Any thoughts?
I mean, I think for me it goes a little bit further than that, because there's lots of good stuff going on, and I think it's how you actually capture that good stuff and turn it into something that feels a little more strategic and and solid. So if we want to go for grants, it's interesting looking into some of these, that what you have to do is to get that professional support to translate all that good work and actually highlight how that's going to have a much bigger community impact than maybe small individual things. So sometimes it's almost less words. Coming from me, you might think that's strange, but yeah.
Oh yes, indeed.
Oh, yes, yeah. So sometimes it's less words in these things, and it's more, this is how it will impact. This is essentially some sort of big, almost financial return on investment delivery model. I think that's where I'd be coming from, how we crisp that up so it has more clout when we put it in.
So
that's helpful.
Yeah, just to be clear, there's two ways you can do it. We've either got it internally or we have to go out and get it. Right, there's nothing worse than banging your head against a brick wall because your grant is turned down because you haven't been crisp enough or whatever. It is just one thing. That was the first. Let's just take that as a recommendation or not. And so can we? Let's try and wrap it up in a discreet, clear set of words. That the Commission recommends to the Cabinet that they review the option of using professional services to improve grant success. Cabinet member. I'm making, okay, so which one?
So where you said cabinet.
Okay, to the Cabinet. Have you got that bit, Esther? Okay, can you just replay that one, Esther?
That the Commission recommends to the Cabinet member that they review options of using professional services to improve grant success.
Chairman, can I just suggest that alongside using professional support, we also look at best practice of other local authorities who have been successful in getting grants in order to become more successful ourselves or something like that.
Yes. Can we add that part in then to additionally to review best practice from peer councils? Let's just make those, split those out into two. Actually, we'll do those two as a pair. Okay, right. So, Esther, would you be so kind to repeat what you've previously said with the addition at the end?
So the Commission recommends to Cabinet members that they review options of using professional services to improve grant success, and they also review best practice from peer councils.
One Cabinet member. Okay, yeah, I think the nuance of that one. Yeah, okay, right. The relevant. This is within the context of the climate change. That's what we were talking about. Yeah. Grants for broader council business. We've got a whole series of experts, but this is specifically climate change.
He wants
No.
climate change specifically referred to, I think.
You want climate change grants, no?
I'm not getting involved.
Oh, right, that's right.
I think it's not just climate change, I think it works for all.
It does, but what we have not having specific success in climate change. So let's just, I propose that. Do I have a seconder? Splendid. Can we have a vote for? That's all carried. Thank you. The second one. This was the business building control one, Gareth.
So I'll be as concise as I can because I know time's there. So
Nice and clear.
the experience that I've had and seen in terms of delivering the Warfield Community Hub is a desire to see, cladding that could be solar panels put in place, but the expertise not being in our building control function, who feeds into the planning process to give that degree of confidence that this is a deliverable solution. Now, these are emerging technologies, so what I'm trying to say is that we build capacity in that part of our organisation to make sure that we have, informed people to help us deliver these innovative solutions. And that's not, that's an additional thing. It's a growing thing. So it's not criticising our planning officers, but they will look to, building control and other parts of the planning system to make sure this is deliverable. So, yeah, so what I want is essentially is that we work hard to build the expertise in climate-friendly technologies, including this, amongst building controls, so it's not a barrier to actually delivering these on buildings.
So the recommendation is that we identify options. We recommend that the Cabinet member seeks to recommend to review options to upskill our building control with innovative solutions relating to climate change.
Yeah.
That work?
I think that would work well.
Okay. Oh, sorry, Tina.
Just to say, can we add to that, please, which is really good. I think we need that, Gareth. What can we add to that? That our planning applications, when developments come through, Chair, do you agree, that we should be advising the planning area, the officers, to say, let's have a look, can the developers please put solar panels on the outside rather than as well as top? We could go to from that area as well, grassroots.
Sorry, as chair of planning.
Yes, information. The planners, the planning officers do know about these things, and I have to say that developers do not have to use council planning control. They can go for private planning control, and I have to say also that the planning officers sometimes despair about what happens with that. It's a matter of what we can do in the face of the fact that they don't need to use our planning control. I think our planning officers do an admirable job, and they were very involved with the Warfield Hub thing. It is specific, but you had that on Warfield.
Okay, let's build the recommendation. So that the Commission recommends to the Cabinet Member for Planning and Building Control that the Council identifies options to enhance the inclusion of innovative climate-friendly technologies.
Yeah, and I'd be happy to propose those words, given that cabinet.
Esther, have you managed to turn that into English?
So we've got that the Commission recommends to the Cabinet Member for Planning and Building Control that the Council identifies options to enhance the innovative solutions to climate-friendly technologies.
Have we got a proposer for that? A seconder? Councillor Watts, a vote on that? That's 100. The next one was looking at repurposing buildings. This is interesting as much as actually we're talking about the carbon cost of not repurposing buildings, isn't it? So there's a question which I don't have the answer to, which is whether this is part of the planning and strategic planning in both sense scope to identify how you can reduce the carbon loss or consumption for new buildings. Gareth?
Yeah, it's actually something that Swindon worked on. I was down at Swindon Council doing their, doing a review down there, and they have a question which features on major planning applications, big planning applications, and the first question on that is, for committee consideration, has the reuse of the existing buildings or adaptation of the buildings on the site been considered? And I think if we focus on that, we might get then some sort of rich evidential information that points to where that happens. I think at this point that's probably sufficient, and then we can develop.
Let me run that
policy.
back then. So actually, if there's a local authority that's already doing this, what we're suggesting, the recommendation is that the relevant cabinet member for planning and building control engages with specific, in this case, Swindon Council,
or other councils that have done similar work,
to identify how they incorporate the reuse over recycling of building question.
The specific, just to clarify, no, the specific thing is to see if reusing or repurposing has been considered, because, as you know, Councillor
Pause a second there
has
while
said,
Esther writes this
Yeah.
down. Say those last words again.
whether repurposing has been considered, both from a financial and from a climate change perspective.
Okay, just pause there. Did you get that?
Yes, I did.
Can we just, you play it back to us, Esther, please?
That the Cabinet Member for Planning and Building engages with Swindon Council to identify how they incorporate the reuse of buildings and whether repurposing has been considered from a financial and climate change perspective.
And this forms part of any committee reports that come before members. So there's an audit trail that shows whether it's been considered.
I think we've got enough in that because that was all part of that. So do I have a proposer for that? Councillor Robert McLean, and seconder was Jodie Watts, Councillor Jodie Watts. And the vote on that one? That's 100%, unanimous. Sorry, so the other one was the engagement. This is yours, Jodie. This is the one about how we engage with residents, reference the recycling dilemma that we're currently facing. So what we're asking is the relevant cabinet member to explore options to educate or make aware of the of best recycling practice. Hold on, let's get Esther to read that one back.
So to recommend to the relevant Cabinet Member to explore options to educate and make residents aware of best recycling practices.
Okay, you had that was you, Jodie, wasn't it? You're proposing seconder, it was you, Gareth, wasn't it? And votes for? That's unanimous. Right. Has anyone got any other subjects that they wish around to bring to the debate? You have?
I think it was just to formalise the support to Councillor Bailey in particular around, working to lobby government for the new special educational needs school at Butlers Park, and welcome the opportunity for ministerial engagement. And Councillor Templeton and Councillor Bailey, I would be more than willing to join any such meeting to show that there is, strong cross-party support given the history and understanding I have of the school and why it came apart. So to make sure that that representation is as inclusive as possible.
Thank you.
And therefore that we seek updates through the process and continue to argue the case. I think it's a very good case we've got to continue to argue for that, but I would provide full support for that. I would behave myself.
Thank you. Let's thank you, Leader, for your time this evening. We look forward to seeing you the next quarter. I invite the Cabinet Ministers to withdraw from the meeting to allow it to continue with business. So if you...
Point of order, Chair, we didn't vote on the last one about updating on the SEND school.
There's a procedural error. I apologise. So,
That's all right.
Did we vote? So, votes for the...
do that, yeah. And it's a positive recommendation to support Councillor Bailey. Can I, while he's here, also note, I think, an outstanding achievement on the Children's Services inspection result as well. I think we should note that in the meeting as well. The Ofsted, I think we should.
Yes, well done.
Thank you. So, the Cabinet members now retire.
And I think in terms of the SEND communication update, I have to declare an interest in that one, don't I? Because I sit on the board. Yeah.
As in the... Sorry. Let's just wait for them a second. And then are you moving on to...
So I'm identifying that procedurally, I believe I can take no part in that discussion because I sit on the advisory board, because it's a conflict of interest.
So, Chair, just to clarify, obviously any member who has been part of the Cabinet Member Advisory Board should not have, for SEND, should not have taken part in any of the scrutinising of that item, and should have declared an interest. So I think a number of members have to declare an interest, but I don't think there's any particular issues in terms of scrutinising tonight.
Yeah, okay. That's what I was trying to say, that there was, just putting on the record in the same way Councillor Haverty did on the climate change.
Okay, happy with that. So let's just move to, it's actually item agenda 6. So what I propose, actually, slightly, we have some time, and Councillor Watson and I have had a conversation about how we can maximise the potency of the report. And the key thing here is making sure that the report itself has meaningful impact and change in the council. So what I propose is that we don't take the report through the commission tonight, but we actually, working as chair, working with yourself and the relevant officers, that we refine those recommendations so that they give the best impact that we can, recognising we have time. And it's such an important subject that additional support to make it happen is, I think, worthwhile. Councillor Watts, is that okay?
I was considering this, but one of the things that was raised was that it might not go through. But I think we should carry on with the report today. But I was going to say that as part of the recommendation, in addition, as an amendment, that we also let them be reviewed by the SEND board as well. The one that what's the name of the person who chairs it? Gavin something.
So
there is a cross-party SEND board, and I thought,
the report is yours, and while they can see them, ultimately it's this commission to make the decision on those recommendations. So what I would suggest is that before anyone else sees them, and it leaves this commission, that we have got the final versions. That's why we as a commission therefore can get in behind it and not have the challenge of reviewing another body's work on ours before it's been finally signed off. Does that make sense? One second, Kevin's just going to give a...
Yeah, I want to defer to Kevin on.
Yes, Chair, just to advise the Commission that obviously the Cabinet Member Advisory Board for SEND is in the executive side of the Council, and so the executive cannot scrutinise itself. So the Commission needs to come with a final version. Obviously, it may choose to consult with the Cabinet Member, and the Cabinet Member may want to take it to that board, but it cannot be a consultee to the paper.
Jodie?
Yeah, so given what Kevin has just said and the amount of work that has gone into this, I would prefer to go ahead with the report today, if that's all right with you, Chair. We have been consulting with the Cabinet the entire time, and we've consulted with officers, and I believe this is the best recommendation that we can come up with. But I'm happy to make amendments as we go along.
Can I, to you, Chair, ask Kevin a question? Am I able to comment on this report because I sit on that advisory board? I didn't think I could.
No, I don't think you can.
No.
I don't think you need to
That's
declare.
what I was trying to allude to, yeah.
Yeah. So just again, in terms of that particular body, it sits in the executive side. So anyone who's then, in effect, you can't mark your own homework. So you need to make a declaration and not participate.
Sorry, is this the same board that I sit on?
Yes, Chair. So my suggestion, Chair, if you hand over to the Vice Chair for this particular conversation.
It's all right, Chair. I had an exciting and energising conversation with Kevin about this a few months ago.
So what I think we're going to do is just so we get everything lined up. So we adjourn for until 15 hours, and when we come back, I will hand this over to Councillor McLean, and if we have a conversation, that would be great. So let's adjourn for Okay, so we are back online. Welcome back, Commission. What we're going to do is move to agenda item 6, which is the SEND Engagement and Communication Review Report. So I'd like to welcome the Chair of the Education, Skills and Growth Plan, Councillor Watts, and ask them to introduce the report and recommendation. Now, at this point, I will be handing over to the Vice Chair, as like Councillor Barnard, I am on the SEND panel, Cabinet Member Advisory Panel.
Right, thank you, Chair. Right, here we go. So I'm going to read a speech because, as we know, I have a tendency to brain fart. Right, so the panel undertook this review as part of the local authority's response to the Ofsted STEM inspection report received in May 2025. I am in regular contact with the Cabinet Member for Children and Young People, Roy Bailey, and the MP for Bracknell, Peter Swallow, to make sure that progress on this important topic continues. I feel like there can often be a divide between the local authority and the SEND parent community or parent carers. This is not unique to our area. It is something felt widely across the country, but it doesn't have to stay that way. We need each other. Being both a SEND parent and a counsellor has given me a very clear view of the experiences of each side. I know firsthand how challenging it can be as a parent carer, and I can see also the significant amount of work that goes on within the local authority. Over the past 9 months, we put together a lot of effort in this review, and as a councillor, I'm proud of what we've achieved. As a SEND parent, I know that it can still feel like progress comes in small steps. I believe that we can continue to develop a new culture, one where we can learn from each other, where parents and the local authority work alongside one another, and where our shared goal is the continued well-being and success of SEND children, and small steps in the right direction can lead to a meaningful change. Bless you. I do want to thank all the parents who gave their time to attend the sessions and complete the surveys, as well as the Parent Carer Forum and Parent Carers Bracknell for speaking with us and giving their insight. I'd also like to thank IS for their support, the Independent Advisory Group, for their support, guidance and signposting, and for the ongoing help that they provide families across Bracknell. So, in recommendation 1, communication is improving, but continues to be a recurring theme that comes up in our research. This, we hope, will help facilitate the process and will also help keep track of details. There's so many different people from so many different departments, can be part of the SEND journey. We are also hoping that this will help to combat the parental burnout that we've seen, as parents will need to repeat themselves less. Recommendation 2, during our research we found that the results, that what we saw were the results of a culture of parental blame. This has also since been brought to the attention of our MP during the SEN event last year, and also by websites such as Special Needs Jungle, who also point to the same thing. Parents say that they feel blamed and judged at every step of their SEN journey, and it can be soul-destroying. Parents can feel not listened to. Surveys are pointless when change never comes as a result. For parental engagement, we recommend that the Know Your Rights be online, where parents can remain anonymous if they so choose, and no question is a bad question, in a judgment-free zone. And in a world where information can be overwhelming, signposting from this council must be clear and accurate. Recommendation 3, again, there is a lot of overwhelming and sometimes contradicting information on the internet, so clarity is needed. This can be especially confusing for parents who are new to the SEN world. This should help provide information and feedback for all those involved with the child. It also helps to keep all the details together so you're not constantly scrambling through your emails to find the one in particular. Now, I know when my youngest child EHCP comes up, you're trying to find an ADHD diagnosis from 2024 and the autism diagnosis from 2022 and the OT report from a completely different year. So this is what we're hoping will help facilitate that. Any questions?
Councillor Oberle.
Thank you, Vice Chair. A question on your recommendation number 1, Jodie. An application and portal to manage all communication between all stakeholders. How do you envisage that confidentiality is maintained and we're not running foul of GDPR?
That does need to be streamlined and definitely tightened up a little. We need some tech help with that, I believe.
Is it actually possible? That's my question. Aren't there Chinese walls between different stakeholders which you're trying to address here, which may not be breached, but which we can potentially breach with such an application?
Well, our idea was to branch out from an already existing application where you can only log on to the portal with a password which you'd have to be previously given. That's currently what is used with the SEND department.
Okay. Yes. I would have another follow-up, a different question on item 2, basically. And I mean, all fundamentally, item 2, it seems like this requires additional hands-on resourcing, doesn't it? In addition to what we are having at the moment. Now, I recognize, obviously, this is it's always a really difficult balance to balance the individual welfare of a child against something as, say, gross as money, isn't it? But we don't have money. That's a fundamental problem. Where does this money come from to provide this additional service to our residents? Where do we take it away? That's fundamentally the question.
So, in response to that directly, we are planning on sort of expanding from online technology, already existing technology, because that will help reduce costs. I mean, there is also the possibility that with increased and improved communication, there will be fewer complaints and fewer miscommunications and miseducations. So I believe that eventually will long-term help with costs.
So your understanding would be that this will be roughly cost neutral?
In a perfect world, yes.
So it's not?
No, I can't say how much exactly it will cost. That will need tweaking. But I can't imagine that they will be too costly, and that's something that needs reviewing.
Okay, thank you.
But I can't say that it will cost absolutely nothing.
Any more questions from commissioners? Councillor Hafji.
Thank you. So these recommendations you've got, obviously you had lots of panel meetings and stuff beforehand. Particularly the first 2 that you have there, was this fed back to anyone from the panel and found out what their views on those ideas were? So that's the speakeasy, know your rights type approach, and also the application. Would they use this? Have they tried to shape it or anything?
With the speakeasy, they most definitely did. So our original idea was, to perhaps have a sort of coffee meeting, have it in a cafe in person, and, again, judgment-free zone, and no question is wrong. But given the feedback that we've had from some of the parent carers, some of them have become disenfranchised and distrustful of the council. So that's when the idea for having an online meeting became the more acceptable forum. Many people said that they would attend a forum online, via Teams, for instance, because they can remain anonymous. They don't have to speak if they don't want to. They can put questions in the chat. And I think anything that helps them ask the questions that they need to ask without any kind of repercussion is the main thing. We need to know what they're thinking. We need to know, bless you, we need to know what they need to provide for their children.
Councillor Oberle.
Thank you, Vice Chair. A follow-up question to Councillor Hafferty's question. So is this online meeting or these online meetings, is this intended to be a quasi-anonymous, forum with multiple attendees, and which will then obviously be recorded by some participants, willingly or unwillingly, which will be played back to us, and which there's a huge risk that information could be misconstrued or misinterpreted. I think fundamentally, I think this is such relevant information benefits from being given face to face or say at least on a personal basis for a specific setting. It's very easy to fall into the trap to generalize specific advice. And I think it's, sorry for being a bit of a worry aunt here, but I see a lot of risk for the council here.
No, that's why all the information needs to be absolutely accurate and clear. If there is a question that we do not know the answer to, then we would usually direct them to IS, because they're an independent advisory service. They are, what's the word? They are apolitical. They have a lot of background and a lot of experience on what can and cannot be done within schools, within mainstream and special needs settings, and what parents' rights are and what the child's rights are as well. With regards to who attends, I mean, the idea is that it will be led by Councillor Bailey, but our plan is to sort of suggest doing a one-off meeting, a one-off forum to see how people respond to it. And I don't think it's actually been discussed about whether or not it will be recorded, but I don't think recording would be a good idea. I think there should be councillors involved and there should be officers involved to make sure that everything is legal.
This day and age, you can't control whether it's recorded or not. Fundamentally, you do not have the technology.
Well, we won't record it. If parents wish to record it...
It's not a discussion. Can we just go through the chair, please?
Thank you. Apologies.
Yeah, apologies, Chair. Yeah, so there'll be an officer there, there'll be councillors there, and I believe notes will be taken for feedback.
Any more questions? Okay, well, there is a recommendation on the agenda. In discussions with the authors of the report, I'm going to tweak the recommendation as written slightly, because I think we can recognise the important work that's gone into coming to this report. And I can tell personally that Councillor Watts has put her heart and soul into this report, because it's something that is very close to her heart. There's a huge amount of good work in here, and I think it does need to go to the Cabinet member for consideration. But can I suggest, with the Commission's approval, that we just give it one further review to ensure it's in the best format possible to expedite the process when it gets to the Cabinet member responsible. And to that end, and without wishing to delay the process unduly by going through another Commission cycle, and not in any way taking anything away from the report, would you be content for this report to be referred back to what would normally be the chairman of the Commission for final sign-off? In this case, it would have to be the vice chairman of the Commission for final sign-off before it goes to the Cabinet member responsible. As I say, there would be no substantive changes to the report, but it's just a way of a final revision, because I know how important this is to many of our residents, quite rightly, and that's why I feel one final review to make it in the most effective format possible will, I think, go the extra mile to get the best value from what is a very hard worked piece of work for this Commission. That would be my recommendation.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Considering what you said, I would like to propose that. May I have a seconder?
Okay, so the recommendation is that before sending to the Cabinet member responsible, the report is referred to the acting chairman, shall we say, of the Commission before it's submitted. All those in favour? That's carried. I'll now hand back to the chairman of the Commission.
Thank you very much. Agenda item 8, Council Plan Overview Report. I welcome the Chief Exec, Susan Halliwell, who will be presenting the Council Plan Overview Report. Sue, would you like to crack on?
Thank you very much. And in the interest of expediency, and to be honest, the leader stole most of my thunder, which I'm delighted, and that's okay. But just really genuinely, so another solid delivery in Q3. There is in there the highlights around the financial challenges in terms of the forecast overspend. I will say that we are looking at a much better position in Q4, so we are bringing that down. I can't confirm the position, but it is looking better than what is being reported through the Q3 report. So there is some assurance there that those actions have taken effect. And the leader did allude to the challenges. Obviously, it's very good news for the place in that we are scored low in deprivation. And high in one of the best places to live in the UK, but that based on the new funding formula has obviously had a detrimental impact on our funding over the next 3 years. That said, making really good progress with community engagement. The Stronger Together community strategy has completed the co-production approach, and as we've mentioned previously, that's going through the decision-making process at the end of this quarter. And the last point I'll just make, because really technically it sits in Q4, but the inspection of our children's services took place at the end of Q3, which isn't really drawn out in this report, understandably, but we have been able to announce that the inspectors found us to be outstanding across the board, which will definitely come through in Q4.
Thank you. So just a couple of questions. Hopefully you'll be able to put some detail around. I noticed on page 62 that regeneration, nice little picture of Cooper's Hill. It's officially been completed, creating 52 sustainable new homes. You may be aware that this commission has been working on social and affordable housing in the borough. So clearly that's a good news story reflecting on where we're working. Of the 52 sustainable new homes, and I suspect it would have been useful to have given you this question before, do you know how many actually families were taken off our waiting list?
I don't know how many were taken off the waiting list. I do know they're doing very well in filling those dwellings, but I can confirm the specific data.
Yeah, it's a great news. It's a great story.
Yeah.
You know. So that's that one. If you give me a second, we just. I see the challenges I've identified, which is on page 64, the 1.12, and I think the leader has gone over virtually all of those already. Is there anything else you want to just bring to our attention that's identified on that particular page, recognising that it's got the big title, challenges identified and being addressed? Is there anything you just want to highlight to us?
I think the leader in the previous item has really gone through the majority of those. I'm just looking through.
Oh, gosh, sorry. No, don't know what's going on. Don't know. It's just woken up by itself. Sorry. Apologies. Chief Exec. No, I don't. I'm just going to turn it off.
Don't worry. So just looking, I think we've actually gone through all of those in the leaders' commentary. I don't think I would pull out any of it. I think what a lot of these represent is, and if I were to step back and reflect on the overall performance of the authority and local government more generally, are those areas across the sector which are the wicked issues. And if we think about the long-term demand management piece, a lot of these are those wicked issues coming through. And that's where the the new operating model is looking at making that shift to prevention, so that we can manage those issues upstream so that they're not hitting our front door in the longer term.
Just on page 72 at the bottom, it's got people significant variances. It was interesting to see, and this may be a point I think that's been made by the Cabinet member in the past, that increasing costs have moved with actually only a relatively few number of cases. So due to the admission of 2 young people into children's home, 3 new independent fostering placements and 7 new placements in Bracknell Forest Council, the fine nuance of 2, 3 and 7 to then put us into a significant position, those tolerances aren't particularly large to be able to manage and prevent a variation when you only get an increasing 2 and it throws up a problem like that. How do you think we can manage the risk when the tolerances to move the needle are so small?
So this is part of the family safeguarding model that we use. So we look at ensuring that children ultimately stay within their family as far as possible. And so we will know and understand our children incredibly well, and we will forecast and make some assumptions in the following year's budget as to what we think the demand is going to look like. Occasionally, there are issues that come forward that you cannot budget for and are in effect your worst case scenario despite all of your mitigations, and so they will come in at high cost. So the family safeguarding model is always keeping that cost down. So it is relative. I understand your point around the tolerance level, but I think what you don't see in this reporting is the cost avoided over several years of having that family safeguarding model. So relative to the overall picture, actually the figures, whilst in year look painful, over the course of the time in which we've had that safeguarding model, actually we're performing very well. Most importantly, it's the children and making sure that they have the best provision that they can have.
Thank you. Any other questions for the Chief Executive? Adrian.
Thank you. Yeah, I've got a couple more on the environmental side of things. I guess the first one is the local climate bond that you've mentioned in 111. That's on your page 42 of the report, our 96. Just wondering if we've got an update yet on any suitable projects, and if not, is the June 2026 launch date still looking feasible?
So we're still in Q4 of this current financial year, and I know the team are working up the feasibility of projects. So at this stage, I don't have a definitive list of projects that we can articulate back to the Commission, but they are working on it. I think you would have a much better understanding in Q1 as to the art of the possible.
Okay, thank you. A couple others. So number 110, again on page 95. This is about the promotion of the social value in procurement, and that apparently that's not being very well understood at the moment. I was just wondering if there are any updates since this report came out to show that we're actually doing better now, and what are the effects of or the impacts of this not being well understood and used?
So there's no real change in terms of an update specifically other than what's already in the report. I think it takes time. The point around the training, it takes time to consume and see the cause and effect and the benefit of that. So I think the as is reported is as we are in Q4.
Okay, all right, thank you. And lastly, the one about the charge points, the EV charge points. So we've got 400 new ones that we're just sort of going out for tender for across the borough. Do you have any more information on those? Maybe like the types of locations or distribution of them, when they're likely to be installed, or where and when residents might be able to get more information on these? Because I think that's quite an interesting one.
So we are still going through the procurement process at the moment. It's grant funded, so it's external funding that will fund the installation. Once that procurement process is concluded, we'll then be able to get on to the more detailed elements of exactly where these charge points are going to go. We'll have to take into account the viability of, connecting into the grid, the capacity, the energy supply to the various places, the residential streets. So we don't have a definitive map yet. That work will need to be done, and that will be part of the contract.
Any idea of the timescales?
Well, it needs the spend. I think needs to start. Actually, I'm not going to say that because I'm not so exactly sure when the spend needs to start. But we're at the tail end now of the procurement process, so mobilisation should be in Q4.
Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Gareth?
Yeah, just a quick question. So it's a whole group of savings, projected savings that are showing us red in the People's Directorate. That's on page 74 and 75. But particularly education and learning transport ones, is this due to just re-provision of existing levels, or is that a reflection of a suggestion around changing eligibility? Because I know that's something that's being considered. So just understanding if it's, one effect running into another.
Yeah, it's not any changes on eligibility. It is demand.
So it's effectively just working around the demand.
Yeah.
And although we've re-provided, we've had additional requirements. So hence it's balancing. So it's kind of a saving, but not, because,
I think it reflects the Councillor Watt's point earlier on that some of our children that have specific educational requirements have to go out of borough and therefore are reliant on this transport.
Hence the discussion we had earlier about the special school, bringing that back to Bucklers Park and in-house.
Thank you. Just it's probably more of a question on page 83 or page 29. We are commissioning a new data management system to monitor NHS check activity. I'll pose this in a daft. It seems a bit odd, and I'm sure I'm not reading it correctly. But we are building a system to monitor what the NHS are doing. Why wouldn't the NHS provide us with that information from their own systems?
Sorry, which reference is that?
It says it's COM 407, increased uptake of NHS health checks, and it says it's Amber, but it says the council has commissioned a new data management system to monitor NHS health check activity. The system will enable comprehensive reporting on key metrics, demographics and referral outcomes. I was just surprised that we were building a system to monitor another government entity's delivery of services. Could you explain that?
I think it's the way we've worded that. It's more we've got a data management system to manage the information rather than using it to collect another organisation's data and monitor them on the progress, because we have the responsibility of the increasing the health checks.
Okay, that sounds a bit plausible. Yeah. Any more questions? No, thank you very much to the Chief Executive. Okay, we're going to move into debate. Are there any recommendations that anyone would like to highlight at this point? No. No, then I will thank the Chief Executive. Just so all commissioners are aware, I have, at the end of the meeting, in the any other business section, there are some thoughts on going forward around the COPR, how we as a commission can be a bit more forensic. So we'll talk about that at the end, which makes a lot of sense. But thank you very much, Sue. Agenda item 9, work programme updates. Environment and Communities panel, Christoph.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. We have finished our housing report and preparing that for bringing it to this commission for your review. And I think that's our work update.
Thank you. Jerry, your panel?
Okay, so work is in progress to produce the scope for the next review, which will be looking at adult social care. I had an update from the cabinet member for adults and public health, and at the moment there is no confirmed date of opening for the new Skimphead Hill hub. The discharge back into the community for medically fit patients, referred to as no criteria to reside, is going well. More successful within Frinley Park Hospital compared to Royal Berkshire Hospital, although funding has improved. The autism and dementia strategy has been established and is progressing well. That's it for the moment.
Thank you, Jerry. And Jodie, obviously we're going to refine the recommendations. Anything you want to add?
No, nothing to report, Chair.
Thank you. That's very useful. This is a terrible way I ask Kevin a question. Just on the overall works plan, because we haven't got one on our website at the moment. I don't think there's one up at the moment, our work plan. Is that correct?
So, Chair, the commission, there's an additional commission meeting has been scheduled. I think it's the 15th of April. And we'll bring forward the work programme to bring this administration to an end, but also for the commission to be recommending to its next incarnation what will be the follow-up review programme. So hopefully what we'll do, which we didn't quite get with this turn, a sort of a programme which is already half populated, because obviously what we had to wait for this turn was the new council plan to be put in place and agreed by council, and that obviously didn't happen until the September-October, so we couldn't get our work programme together until the January-February, so we almost lost the year. So what we'll do is we'll learn that lesson, and hopefully as we bring forward that programme for 15th of April this year, we'll programme the next 12 months and the following 12 months in terms of following up some of the reviews that have already been agreed by the Commission.
Thank you for that. So, Esther, if you've got a couple of slides that I would just want to talk through with you. So the aim of this is that we provide real overview and scrutiny to the council's performance. There's some jolly good words there. I'll tell you what, can you jump to the next slide? So, what might be useful is just, and people can stop me if they understand this already, lead and lag indicators. Anyone want me to just say what they are? So, yeah, so it's trying to identify either the root cause or the early indicators of an incident. And so it could be, for instance, that one of the lead indicators of an issue for overspend could be, for instance, that the out of borough transport costs are significantly increasing, and that if we as the Commission identify early that there are challenges in that area, that would be a good focus recommendation to the cabinet member that perhaps that's an area that they should review. Lag is quite simple. Then you can look back and identify actually in the data that's published a potential root cause of a particular incident. Okay, looking back, the borough received 5 more additional children that we were unplanned for in that particular period, and that was why that has resulted in financial stress. But it's as simple as that. So following on from the budget and reviewing, there are 5 areas that we're currently having a really good look about how we can build those indicators into it. The reason these were chosen is, quite frankly, these are the areas which destabilise the finances of the council. They are the biggest swing items, quite frankly. And there's a piece of work that Phil and his team is helping me identify how we can use data previously accrued to give us an idea at trends relating to these important areas. And then we can have a conversation with the relevant cabinet member or officer, depending on the format, regarding these key areas. Now, they're not frozen. If there's something that we as a commission would wish to add, then so be it. But the idea is that we are focusing in on the key areas that that this council is facing. Make sense? So what I propose is that we will refine these, and at the next meeting we will seek to play back. What the hell? Yes, Gareth.
I think this is a really good list. From memory, if we look at some of the LGA publications, there are some key performance indicators that you can pull out from that would then link to any financial costs and pressures. So if we use those as sort of headlines, under each of those you might want to pick 3 or 4. They're generally known as the killer indicators, the one that show whether you're actually moving in the right direction or whether there's a risk there. So
not a great choice of expression, but I get what you mean.
But I mean, you know, that's what they've been known as for about the last 30 years, because they're the ones that actually determine whether your service is succeeding or not.
We'll have a look at that. That makes sense. Yeah. Okay, that's it from me. Any more questions? Thank you all for a feisty panel, bringing lots of good scrutiny, and we'll see you all soon. Thank you.